Welcome to Spectrum TV News at 4. I am Uyai, and here can come to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Buhari, INEC, chair mid-over polls. Supreme Court adjourns Naira redesign case till March 3rd. Plus, United States Secretary of State Anthony Blinken says U.S. is not in support of any candidate. We'll bring you details of these stories and more in a moment. Thanks for joining us. First in the news this afternoon, President Muhammadu Buhari has met with the chairman of the Independent. The unscheduled meeting, according to Buhari, was at the instance of Yakubu, explaining it was all part of the efforts for the elections to hold successfully. The president hinted about the meeting while explaining his few minutes of lateness to the commissioning and handover of security equipment valued at over 12 billion to the military and Nigeria Police Force. According to him, he had been grounded in the electoral body for the 5 minutes he kept the Kakavid group waiting, reminding all that everything needed to be done for a successful election to be achieved. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has presided over a meeting of the National Security Council holding at the council chambers of the State House, Abuja. Believed to be the last before the elections, the security meeting comes 5 months after the council last met to receive updates from the service chiefs and heads of other security agencies. With barely 48 hours to the presidential and National Assembly elections, reports say today's meeting will review the readiness of all security agencies, the Independent National Electoral Commission and the Central Bank ahead of the electoral exercise. Present are Vice President Yemi Oshibajo, Chief of Defense Staff General Lucky Irabo, Chief of Air Staff Air Marshal Isiaka Amao, Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, Chief of Naval Staff Vice Admiral Awal Gambo, the Inspector General of Police Usman Baba, and Directors General of the State Security Service and National Intelligence Agency Yusuf Bichi and Ahmed Abubakar, respectively. In another development, federal government has repatriated no fewer than 150 Nigerians said to be stranded in Niamey, Niger Republic. According to the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadiya Farouk, the returnees were stranded in Niamey while they were attempting to go to Europe in search of greener pastures. The minister, who received the returnees at Aminu Kano International Airport in Kano, said the exercise was conducted in collaboration with the International Organization for Migration (IOM) and Economic Community of West African States (ECOWAS). According to her, the returnees were brought back to Kano under the care of the IOM and ECOWAS from Niger Republic through a voluntary repatriation program. Meanwhile, the federal government is reviving shut-in crude oil wells in a bid to produce about 2.1 million barrels of oil daily, with an estimated worth of 2.4 trillion naira monthly from various drilling facilities in the Niger Delta. Data obtained from the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission in Abuja showed that about 900,000 barrels of oil per day could be produced from quick interventions on the shut-in wells, while the medium and long-term initiatives could add 1.2 million barrels of oil daily. The Chief Executive, NUPRC Benga Komolafe, said a committee was currently working on reviving the shut-in wells. Komolafe noted that as part of the strategy for value optimization and increased production from the national oil and gas reserves, the Commission has focused on regulatory initiative aimed at reviving declining wells through enhanced oil recovery approach. He said the total number of strings that need to be revived is also known, and they have commenced engagement with the relevant operators to operationalize the initiative. On the Naira crisis, the Supreme Court today adjourned the case instituted by the state governments against the federal government, challenging the implementation of the Naira redesign. The Apex Court adjourned the case to March 3rd for judgment. Earlier, the Apex Court consolidated the suit instituted by over 12 state governments. At the last hearing on February 15, 7 states joined the 3 initial states as co-plaintiffs, while Edo and Bayelsa states joined the federal government as co-defendants. The court, however, refused to join Abia State in the suit on the ground that it came late with its originating summons. All efforts by Abia State government to be joined in the suit was turned down and was ordered to present its case at a later date. Still in judiciary, Justice Nicholas Owebo of the Federal High Court in Ikoyi, Lagos, today granted an interim forfeiture of 14 properties in Lagos, Abuja and the United Arab Emirates UAE linked to the Kogi state government. The judge also ordered the preservation of the sum of 400 million recovered from one Aminu Falala. Justice Owebo granted the order following an ex parte application filed by the Lagos Zonal Command of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC). The application was supported by an affidavit deposed to by Adekumi Mojibola, an investigating officer with the EFCC. Elsewhere, the National Youth Service Corps (NYSC) has deployed over 200,000 corps members as ad hoc staff to partake in the general election scheduled for Saturday. The Director General NYSC Yuso Ahmed said those to participate in the elections have already been trained by INEC officials both in and outside orientation camps, warning that they must not accept gifts from party agents. The NYSC DG stated these in Abuja while speaking on the preparedness of the organization for the forthcoming general elections. According to him, the body has put in place measures to ensure the security of corps members during and after the elections. Still on electoral matters, the United Kingdom has advised critical stakeholders and political parties to ensure violence-free elections ahead of the 2023 polls. The UK's Minister of State for Development and Africa, Andrew Mitchell, gave the advice in a statement, noting that the UK and its government remained committed to supporting credible and inclusive elections, which are fundamental to Nigeria's continued democratic growth and to the future of regional and global democracy. He urged party officials to respect electoral laws and institutions as well as avoid hate speech. Meanwhile, Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has commenced distribution of sensitive election materials to the 20 local governments in Lagos State. Recall that the electoral umpire had earlier fixed the presidential and National Assembly elections for Saturday, February 25, 2023. Confirming the commencement of the distribution of the materials, the Police Public Relations Officer in Lagos, SP Benjamin Hundeyin, said the process was monitored by the Commission of Police in the state, CP Idowu Owonoha. Away from that, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board has announced suspension of its ongoing 2023 direct entry registrations. The board, in a statement by its head, Public Affairs and Protocol Fabian Benjamin, explained that the suspension is to enable the deployment of certain measures which are designed to better serve prospective candidates. The statement said a new date and fresh registration procedure, which will include the upload of JAMB admission letter in the case of OND and NCE admission letter issued by universities in the case of university diploma, and admission letter issued by A-level examination bodies will be announced in due course. The statement added that only JAMB offices are approved to register candidates for direct entry. The state governor, Udom Emmanuel, has charged all eligible voters in the state to participate in this Saturday's presidential and National Assembly elections. Governor Emmanuel gave the charge while addressing party faithful at the gubernatorial campaign rally of the People's Democratic Party in Nserubium. The governor, who stressed that voters are the only ones who would decide winners in the elections, urged them to follow all election procedures on election day to enable them cast a valid vote. He warned eligible voters against selling their permanent voters cards, PVCs, as it was the only power they have to elect leaders of their choice. Government House correspondent Jane Noah reports that Governor Emmanuel, who is also the chairman of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council, appealed to the people of the state to vote for all the party's candidates at all levels during the elections. The presidential and National Assembly elections hold this Saturday, while the governorship and state assembly elections is scheduled to hold on March 11, 2023. In furtherance of the news, Africa has resumed fighting in the disputed town of Las Anod in the self-declared Republic of Somaliland, which is situated in northern Somalia. The number of casualties from the latest fighting is not yet known, but the International Committee of the Red Cross and Crescent states that over 150 people have been killed and over 600 wounded since the violence began on February 6th. It was sparked when the Belente clan elders reportedly issued a declaration stating that they no longer considered themselves part of Somaliland and the Sul, Snag and Sian regions would now be governed by Somalia. Meanwhile, a ceasefire was briefly declared on February 10th, but the two parties have accused each other of violating it since then. Still in Africa, the US, Britain and European Union are reportedly to announce fresh sanctions targeting military commanders and militia leaders involved in the ongoing fighting in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. This fresh round of sanctions will target military commanders from the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. The two countries have traded accusations over the conflict in the mineral-rich region of DR Congo. Meanwhile, Eastern DR Congo has seen an escalation of fighting in recent days between Congolese forces and rebel groups that has killed thousands and displaced millions more. On the foreign scene, the United States Secretary of State Anthony Blinken and two other senior administrative officers, U.S. Aid Administrator Samantha Power and U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Linda Thomas-Greenfield, have said that the U.S. does not support any one candidate in the forthcoming general election in Nigeria. In a 58-second solidarity, make their voices heard and choose their future in the general election, reiterated that they strongly support a peaceful election that reflects the will of the people of Nigeria, while as the shared democratic futures of both countries depended on it. Between his country and China are reaching new milestones as Beijing's top diplomat Wang Yi wrapped up a visit to Moscow today. Wang's high-profile visit just days before the anniversary of the Kremlin's full-scale invasion of Ukraine is widely believed to be a precursor to a meeting between Putin and Chinese leader Xi Jinping. Recall that in December 2022, Putin and Xi held a virtual meeting in which the Russian leader described relations between the two nations as the best in history, saying they could withstand all tests, and invited Xi to visit Moscow in the spring of 2023. Wang arrived in Moscow just days after U.S. officials went public with concerns about how China's continuing partnership with Russia could have an impact on the war in Ukraine, and hours after Putin made a major speech on the conflict in which he announced plans to suspend Russia's involvement in its last remaining nuclear arms treaty with the U.S. Still to come in the news. Leicester appoints Australia assistant coach Michaela as new boss. Do stay with us. Thanks for staying tuned, and now to the rest of the news. In business, the Executive Secretary and Chief Executive of Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission (NIPC), Saratu Umar, has appealed for the collective action for mutual benefits that would firmly position Nigeria and the diplomatic community on the path of sustainable prosperity for current and future generations. Speaking during the stakeholder forum with the diplomatic community in Abuja, she said, noting that economic diplomacy remained one of the pillars of the mandate undertaken by diplomats in host countries. Umar added that based on the mandate, diplomats do not only assist in delivering marketing messages to target groups of potential investors, but also manage relationships and provide the relevant information required for investors to make informed investment decisions. Still in business, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited (NNPCL) says Nigeria's oil production had increased to 1.6 million barrels per day, a few million short of the 1.8 million barrels per day quota allocated to Nigeria by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries (OPEC). NNPCL's Group Chief Executive Mele Kyari revealed this at a meeting of industry stakeholders called to discuss the challenges of crude oil theft and losses affecting the oil and gas sector. He stated that the rectangular security approach comprising the company and partners, regulators, government security agencies, and host communities, boosted by the adoption of technology, ensured the recovery of production from what it was in July 2022 to the current 1.67 million barrels per day. In health, Harvest Plus Nigeria, in collaboration with the federal government and development partners, has unveiled a nutritional guide to help Nigerians reduce the risk of malnutrition, which remained a national challenge. Chief Nutritionist Harvest Plus Eric Boy said biofortification uses conventional breeding to develop food crops that provide more of the essential vitamins and minerals, micronutrients required for good health. Eric noted that micronutrient malnutrition, known as hidden hunger in Nigeria, remains a public health challenge to be addressed, as approximately 1 in 3 preschool-aged children suffer from vitamin A deficiency and over 50% of women are anemic. She explained that Nigeria's most consumed staple foods, such as traditional white non-biofortified cassava, maize, and sweet potatoes, are low in essential micronutrients like vitamin A. Still in health, Researchers said that they have identified a severe form of monkeypox in people with advanced HIV, which had a death rate of 15% among patients with AIDS. Monkeypox, previously known as monkeypox, has long been endemic in several African countries but started spreading across the world last May, affecting homosexuals. According to the World Health Organization, more than 85,800 mpox cases, including 93 deaths, have been reported across 110 countries. In sports, Premiership champions Leicester have appointed Australia as Swarth, who took over from former boss Steve Borthwick when he took charge of England in December. The 46-year-old returns to club coaching after a successful 5-year stint in charge of the Arc Brumbies in Super Rugby, which ended in 2022. He first joined the Australia setup in 2021 while head coach of the Brumbies, and was widely touted as the heir apparent to former Australia boss Dave Rennie. Still in sports, Chelsea legend Glenn Hoddle today pleaded with Napoli striker Victor Osimhen to come to the English Premier League in the summer following his brilliant form in the ongoing 2022-2023 season. Hoddle described Osimhen as a top player after his teams cruised past Eintracht Frankfurt in the UEFA Champions League on Tuesday night. Meanwhile, Osimhen, 24, scored a goal as Napoli defeated Frankfurt 2-0 in the Champions League round of 16 first leg tie in Germany. On our entertainment news, Apple Music has announced Afrofusion singer-songwriter David Deco, popularly known as Pulse, as the latest featured artist in its Up Next Artist Development Program in Nigeria. Born and raised in Port Harcourt, Nigeria, Pulse has been working diligently for several months alongside distribution and label services company Free Music in order to fully realize his artist's potential. His debut EP, Press Play, released in 2023, available to stream on Apple Music and released through Frame Music, blends Afrobeats, Afropop, Alete, R&B, and Amapiano to create a sound that's steeped in energy and evergreen melodies, anchored by the up-tempo Afrobeat single, Coma. Still on entertainment, Nadine Ibrahim's Beyond the Veil is set to premiere video following a licensing agreement with Amazon's global streaming service. Will premiere exclusively on the platform of Prime next month. The series follows the lives of 5 women living in Nigeria's capital city, Abuja, as they navigate work, love, family, and friendship. Showcasing the richness and diversity of the northern culture, Beyond the Veil displays the beauty of Arewa fashion, lifestyle, and tradition, while also highlighting social issues such as polygamy, drug abuse, gender-based violence, forbidden relationships, and unstable family dynamics. Beyond the Veil will be available exclusively on Prime Video across sub-Saharan Africa from March 3rd, 2023. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do well to follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum TV News at 4. I am Uyai Aneke. Thanks for watching and do enjoy the rest of your evening.